What's happening, everyone? Have you ever been overwhelmed by relationships like there was just too much to focus on all at once? Well, if you have, today's video is going to help you because we're going to talk about loving and knowing in part. This is the B.A. Shepherd Show, and I'm your host, B.A. Shepherd. Now let's get into today's clip. Here's a challenge. Focus on loving part of them. When we teach grooming to our students here at the farm, we break the horse down into 5 parts. We have the head, the neck area, the shoulder and front legs, the barrel, and the back end. We do this so that when the students are grooming, they focus on one particular area. He has flies chasing him. Instead of looking at the whole entire horse, which would cause it to be overwhelming, we teach them to focus on one particular spot. Their focus is causing them to be in tune to that particular area, and they don't rush past it. And I know someone right now is thinking, oh, I know what spot I'm gonna focus on. But just be careful, because if you focus on the wrong spot, you'll just end up screwed. But seriously though, the idea of focus, care, and attention will ultimately lead you all the way around to see the full perspective of the one that you care for and love. Physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, educational, all of it. So love in part and learn to love the journey of loving entirely. Have you ever considered the word maturity? Maturity means a full manifestation of something. So when something is mature, it has grown to the point of fullness. So today, let's think about this. A relationship has to grow in maturity. It has to grow into its fullness. But before we can get to fullness, we have to start off at a part. As I pointed out in the video, our students here at the farm are trained in different aspects and parts of the horse. We do this because when a young person may arrive at the farm and they're looking at a horse for the first time and we're talking to them about grooming, what they see is this big horse and they think it's going to be nice and easy and, oh, I'm just going to do this so quick and get done so I can ride. But what happens is when we start to slow down and break that horse into segments so that they can groom according to the segments, they realize that there's much more detail involved. So they start at the head. Now, before I go to this, consider this. There are 2 sides of the horse. And so even though we have broken the horse down into 5 sections, there are 2 sides. So that's still 10 parts of grooming. And that's without breaking it down into the smaller components of the actual muscle groups or bones or different aspects and components of the horse, the more specific details. So they start off, they're grooming the head. We tell them to spend a minute there on one side, just spending a minute. And then they go to the neck, then down to the shoulder, then down to the barrel, then down to the back end. Then they go to the other side and they do the same process. And then they're working the tail, and then they're doing the mane. And so now they end up moving completely around the horse, identifying and addressing each individual aspect. But when they're in that one spot focusing, they're developing a greater appreciation for that area. We have them groom with different utensils and tools. They're using different techniques, brushing and grooming, different directions. They have their hand and they're rubbing on the horse, making sure there's no dirt or debris or anything that would agitate the horse. And as they go around, they're doing that same thing in each different aspect, putting their hands on the horse, looking at the horse, evaluating the horse's skin and fur, and seeing how the horse is moving, seeing how the horse's behavior is being portrayed. Do you know that by taking time, slowing down, and really focusing, you can find out if someone's agitated? Because you can listen. You can listen to their actions. You can listen to their words. You can listen to their behaviors and realize, you know what? Something might be up. In a relationship with a horse, if you're not aware of how that horse is feeling or what might be going on with that horse on a particular day, it can greatly influence the ride that you might have or the interactions and training that you want to do. You see, that horse has its own mind. It has its own thoughts, it has its own emotions, it has its own experiences, it has its own physical feelings. The people that we are in relationship with are very much the same way. They have their own thoughts, they have their own experiences, they have their own thing going on in their own mind. And when we rush in, thinking that, oh, we can just see them in totality just because we showed up, we are going to miss some fine detail. But the great thing about it is this: we can learn to become great observers in our relationships. We can learn to study someone by taking time and watching and learning and being connected and making that connection through a touch, whether it's a physical touch, an emotional touch, a spiritual touch, whatever it may be, sharing something educationally, academically, whatever it may be, we can connect with someone and create greater connection. But seeing them in part is the key. And then when maturity comes, we will know them as a whole. So first, we know in part. And as we grow, we know in totality, in entirety. So take that with you today. Become a student of your relationships and slow down. Work on the parts and then in love and know entirely. I'm B.A. Shepherd, reminding you to be a shepherd. The world has enough sheep.